Hello and welcome to our equivalent fractions flip video. Make sure that you have your recording sheet so you can record the definitions. Let's start with equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that are equal in some way. An inequality. An inequality is not equal. A statement in which one expression is greater than, less than, or not equal to each other. So make sure that you write down these definitions and then make sure that you do some examples and non-examples. So here would be an example of a fraction that would be equivalent. 1/4 and 2/8. Those fractions are equivalent. A fraction that's not equivalent would be 1/3 and 1/2. Those are not equivalent. An inequality is anything that is one is greater than the other one, or less than, or not equal to each other. So I could say 4 is less than 8. And then if I wanted to say something that's a non-example, I could say 4 equals 4. That's a great non-example. Record these on your recording sheet and pause this video if you need to. Let's go on to our next slide. So equivalent fractions. Which inequality represents this fraction? So let's look at this. This is 1, 2, that's going to be my numerator because that's how many are shaded in, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be 2 out of 6. This over here is going to be 3 out of 6. Well, whenever I look at this, I don't see 2/6 is less than 3/6 over there. So I have to find fractions that are equal to this. Well, I'm looking at this right here, and this is 1/2 of it is shaded in. So 3/6 is the same as 1/2. If I look at this one, I could break it into 3 chunks. 1, 2, 3. So this would be the same as 1/3. Now let's see. 1/3 is less than 3/8. Well, there's nothing about eighths, so that's not the answer. 2/6 is less than 1/2. That's a maybe. 1/2 is greater than 4/6. I don't have 4/6 shaded in at all. So this is my correct answer. That 2/6, they left the 2/6 here, is less than the 1/2 right here. Let's look at this one. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 2 out of 8. This is 4 out of 8. I can really, sorry, not 4 out of 8. It's going to be 2 out of 4, which is the same as 1/2. I can clearly see that this is half of the circle shaded in. 2/8. Well, if I look at this chunk and I look at this chunk and this chunk, that looks like it's the same as 1/4. Okay? So now let's look. 1/4 is less than 1/2. Well, that's there. 2/8 is greater than 1/2. No. 2/4 is less than 2/8. No. So this is going to be my correct answer. So you may have to find fractions that are equivalent to be able to find out which statement represents those fractions. Let's look at some benchmark fractions. So let's look here. This fraction strip is so conveniently filled in for us. So it shows on the number line 0/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. If I am looking at 1/8, this 1/8 is closer to 0 than it is to 1/2 and 1/2. So 1/8 falls closer to 0. So these are our benchmark measurements: 0, 1/2, and 1/2. And when you think about the fraction, you have to decide, is it closer to 0, 1/2, or 1/2? Well, this one's nice and filled in for us, and it shows that 1/8 is closer to 0. Let's look at some benchmark measurements again. Okay, let's say that I had 1/4. Okay, well, if I have 1 out of 4 pieces filled in, I can draw a strip diagram to help me compare this. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, so that's 4. Well, if I have this much shaded in, clearly that's closer to 0 than 1/2. Let's try another one. Let's say that I have 4/8. I can draw a strip diagram again to help me with this fraction. I can break this into 8 pieces. And I'm going to fill in 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4/8. Well, that definitely looks like half, so that would be closer to 1/2. Let's say I filled in 7/8. Well, that's closer to 1 whole because majority of this box is filled in. So you can definitely use a strip diagram to help you decide if something is closer to 0, 1/2, or 1 whole. Draw a strip diagram of it and fill it in. Don't try to do the circle one though, because that gets really confusing. Let's talk about decomposing fractions. So decomposing means to break something apart. So if I have 4/6, okay, and I want to decompose that, I know that in this 4/6, there's 4/6. So there's 1/6 there, 1/6 there, 1/6 here, and 1/6 there. So that's how you would decompose 4/6, because I know that 4/6 equals 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. So I know that I have 4 of these. So if I were looking at a strip diagram of 4/6, I'd break this into 6 pieces. And I would shade in 1, 2, 3, 4 individual pieces. So each one of these pieces is 1/6. Let's look at one more decomposing. 3/4. So 3/4 is really 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So I broke 3/4 down into each individual piece, which is 1/4. So 3/4 is the same as 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. And if you look at a strip diagram of that, this is 1/4 that I would shade in, and 1 more 4th that I would shade in, and 1 more 4th that I would shade in. So that means that I shaded in 3 out of the 4 pieces. So watch this video as many times as you need to and ask any questions of your teachers before you turn in your homework if you're having any issues. Have a great evening.